welcome everyone. My name is Swapna. I am the VP of Product for AI for Work, specifically working on pre-built agents. These include HR, IT, and recruiting. And I'll pass it to Mark to introduce himself.
Happy to be here. Mark Jackson. I'm a director from AMD, focusing on HR technology, and I'll be sharing our AMD journey on how we implemented the AI agent. Sweet. Thanks for coming.
All right, so here's our agenda for today. We are going to go through what are some of the challenges that HR faces. We're going to talk about how we are reimagining HR with pre-built AI agents, and then we'll talk about the AMD story. How AMD had the need for change, how they reimagined their HR with AI, how they took their vision and idea to reality, and how they measured impact and the transformation it had on their business. And then, post that, we will see something about the future and how autonomous agents in HR are going to reinvent this entire world of HR. And so with that, we'll get started. So here are some of the HR challenges that we see that become the silent killers of productivity. So on average, in an organization, we find that there are at least 17 systems in just the HR space. If you go to an IT organization, and the average is actually 50 systems. So that's just 17 systems just for HR. Now imagine the employees who are searching for information across these systems. Or seeking out colleagues for information about specific tasks. So every time you have to switch between these applications to get a task done or look for information, you lose time. In fact, there are studies that every 11 minutes, workers are interrupted with this context switching. And when you get interrupted that often, you lose sight of the task that you are doing. And it takes 23 minutes to actually go back to what you were actually doing. For HR leaders, they report that the current technologies do not meet their evolving business needs. For administrators who actually manage all these systems, they say more than their half of their time is spent on routine tasks. And then for HR leaders, their top priority is the employee experience, but they are not able to fulfill that experience. And they keep getting always complaints from employees, from HR leaders, that these are the things we need to improve. But try as you might, you are never able to fully get there. So keeping this as our North Star, we decided, okay, what are we going to do to reimagine HR with AI? And I have a deep background in this space, but again, AI being so new, I was trying to think through, okay, what are some of the things, given these common problems that all organizations face, what can we do to make things better for all the people that are dealing with these problems? So this is the future that we reimagined or imagined for an organization. We want to be able to give an assistant that every employee needs. This assistant can span through the entire employee lifecycle. We all have been an employee, we are an employee. We all go through the employee lifecycle of being recruited, onboarded, getting up to speed, growing in an organization, and ultimately moving within the organization or outside the organization. And we decided to take a look at the HR domain and see what are some of these routine tasks on which we can apply AI. And this could be across departments, because an employee could be in any department. They could be in sales, they could be in finance, they could be in marketing, but they could also be in HR. So how did we decide to do this, and what are the main things that we decided to get there? So the first thing that we want to make sure is that we meet employees where they are. This could be on the channel of their choice. This is another one of the fragmented landscape that we encounter. You have a myriad of channels in which employees operate. They could be Teams, Slack, a mobile app, or an SDK. So we want to meet the employees wherever they are in your organization. The second one, the biggest one that we want to make it easier for employees is to enable search. Hundreds of repositories searching for information across different places, and we want to have a single place so that they can just ask for information. The second one is a full library of pre-built use cases or agents spanning across HR, IT, and recruiting. And then the third one, if some of those use cases don't fit your needs, you can also build custom AI agents. All of this is enabled through a conversational interface and multi-agent orchestration layer through AI for Work. And you, of course, have guardrails for security and governance. So this is what the vision is. It's really quite simple. The one place that every employee needs. You will see the systems that are typically used in HR. They are, the big four are SAP, ADP, Workday, and Oracle. The channels are typically Teams, Slack, or iMessages, or they could even be, some of them use intranets as another one. But we're looking at these four pillars. One is for recruiting, where an AI agent can create, help you through the entire recruiting lifecycle. The second one is for onboarding, where AI can help onboard, launch tasks, deliver resources. And for HR and IT support, where they can answer HR questions, automate workflows, and accelerate any kind of IT help needed. And then growing the employee, whether it is through skill gap analysis, through course recommendations, and then also engaging employees through polls, surveys, and analytics. So with that, with that backdrop, I'm going to hand it over to Mark to see how they went through their journey at AMD and applied AI in their organization.
Thanks, Swapna. Oh, thank you. Good afternoon. Hopefully I'll keep you guys away. I know it's just after lunch. I promise this is a very exciting presentation, though. But let me go over here. So yeah, just a brief, does it have a microphone? So just a brief background of AMD. So we are a global company, of course, in the semiconductor industry. We design high-performance chips and graphics solutions. We have, it says right here, 28,000 employees. Right now, actually, we're about 30,000 employees. We operate in over 30 countries, about 35 plus countries. And one of the challenges that we had is that we're a very fast-moving company. Like, we're growing fast. We have a lot going on at AMD, which is very, very good. But of course, with that fast-growing company, we're getting a lot more employees coming into the workforce that are, of course, asking questions that are very, very relevant, such as, how do I access SAP SuccessFactors, which we call Talent Connect, by the way. So you'll see many references for Talent Connect. That is our HR technology system, which is SAP. But a lot of questions coming in. What is the vacation policy? What is the bereavement leave policy? I'm a new employee. When do I get my next paycheck? So I joined in 2019. We were roughly 12,000 employees. As you see now, we're about 30,000 employees. So with all that increase in employees, we had a much more higher volume of Ask HR tickets coming in. And so we wanted to make sure that we're meeting our SLAs, that we're meeting the expectations of the employees, and for new hires coming in, giving them a very optimal experience. And so our Ask HR team has grown over the past 5 or 6 years, but not at the same rate as our employee population. So we had to find a way, how do we better scale? How do we find that happy medium where we can leverage technology to answer tickets autonomously, but also have the white glove treatment and the personal touch to our employees as well? And then one challenge that we did have also is, as we grew as a company, our HR technology footprint grew, which is good. So we ended up buying or purchasing or leveraging other systems apart from SAP SuccessFactors. We leverage iCIMS for recruiting. We leverage other systems for mentoring and so forth. So we're trying to find the best of breed systems to support our employees. But the problem that we're getting with this is because sometimes they do come from different vendors, we're getting an inconsistent user experience. And so that was one thing that we did hear from our employee survey feedback is we had the tools, but they're hard to use. I'm not in every day, and it's frustrating because I'm trying to get things done quicker so I can perform my job more effectively. What was a really interesting fact is as we were analyzing our pain points and our challenges, we found that the average HR inquiry or transaction that an employee goes through is roughly 12 minutes. So if you think about it, I mean, me as an HR technologist, I was like, no, it's probably like a few minutes. But our employees and our managers are not always in SuccessFactors or in the other recruiting systems and so forth. And so they would only go in there twice a month, and they would have to create a vacation request or transfer an employee or look up their cost center. And they would have to go to JobAIs to try to figure that out. So we were actually kind of surprised by that number, but we did see 10 to 12 minutes per transaction. And we knew that we had to reduce that because we were just hearing from the employees that they were not happy that it just took so long and we had an inconsistent user experience. And then finally also, just with all the work going on, we've been practicing or working on a lot of strategic projects, which did require a lot of HR resources like our Ask HR team, our HR technology teams, our data management teams. They were so busy with all the volume coming in from employee inquiries that they were hard to be pulled for special projects. So we were trying to find ways just to free up our HR team members so that we can better scale. So with all that analysis, we figured out, yes, let's go ahead, let's talk to Kore, let's see what AI solutions could help us so that we can drive a unified experience across all of our HR systems, scale better, and drive down that time it takes for the given employee or the given manager to do an HR transaction or ask an HR question. And then in addition, what we wanted to do also is just find ways to free up our Ask HR team or our HR team members so that they can also work on strategic projects. That was, so if I take it all into play, is we went to the scale, we went to improve the employee experience, and also give the best experience, and also streamline our HR system landscape as much as possible so it's easier to use. And hopefully also find ways where we can not manage so many job aids for the different systems that we had. So, what we did next is we defined our business case. So how we defined our business case was we downloaded or extracted all the data from our reporting system, or from our Ask HR ticketing system, which is ServiceNow. And we looked at maybe 1 or 2 years of data and just say, hey, what are the common themes that we're seeing for tickets coming in from the employees globally? And the common themes really were those things that I was mentioning: vacation requests, time off balance, paycheck is wrong or incorrect, or a question on a paycheck. How do I do something in SAP SuccessFactors? How do I create a rec? I can't figure it out. So we try to find all those common use cases that were indeed global in nature, that were very standardized, that there was like a country-specific nuance, and that were very routine. And we found roughly 30, I'll say 25 to 30, probably about 30% of our use case, or our Ask HR tickets coming in were very common and very routine. So that's how we got to that number of, okay, our goal for this HR AI agent is that it will deflect 30% of our tickets coming in, because that's what we're seeing as being very routine across the board globally. We also wanted to make sure that we did have that unified employee experience. There was a lot of challenges, again, with people trying to figure out how to navigate in the system and do a certain transaction. We all know how to use Microsoft Teams as a corporation, but not everybody knows how to use different platforms, or like SAP or aiagents, et cetera. So we wanted to push that unified employee experience across all of our HR systems, where I could have a conversation and say, I want to transfer Swapna to Joe, and it's easy as that. I don't want to do 20 clicks and try to find a job aid to do so. And then one thing that was really eye-opening to us was, in talking to Kore, was the ability with HR Assist being able to allow us to do self-service transactions. So not only searching for questions that Swapna mentioned around policy questions in ServiceNow, or knowledge-based articles in ServiceNow, or policy documents in SharePoint, but allowing managers and employees to do transactions conversationally, leveraging generative AI in the Kore.ai platform. And what you'll see shortly is that we dropped that time of 12 minutes really to like 1 to 2 minutes, which was kind of earth-shattering. And if you think about it, actually, if we saved, say, 10 minutes per transaction, the average employee, as I mentioned, is in there twice a month. So, I mean, that times 30,000 employees is a lot of time savings, where now they can focus on more important things. How we did the measurement for performance was, like, as I mentioned, we looked at those Ask HR tickets in ServiceNow. We knew that we went to deflect, as I mentioned, 30% of those tickets for those more routine things. So we're definitely looking at ticket reduction, user adoption every day or every week, actually, at least. We're looking at our metrics from the Kore.ai platform analytics engine and seeing how we're getting adoption. We look at it both from a BU perspective, so how many people from HR are using the agent, how many people from engineering, from finance, et cetera, and we're also slicing and dicing it from a geographical perspective as well. And then finally, our Ask HR metrics, how do we look from our SLAs? Are our SLAs getting better? Are they getting worse? Which regions are kind of struggling? And proud to say right now, we're looking at, so we've just been live, which I'll be sharing shortly, and globally in January of 2025. We soft launched, right now it's May roughly, so we have, right now comparing Q1 from this year to Q1 last year, we've already reduced our tickets by 20%, which was actually really cool because we've only soft launched to date. And then finally, metrics and outcomes, which was very pleasant to hear, was the first 3 months in that pilot, we had a 70% thumbs up. We were only expecting 50 or so, or maybe even 40%, because we thought that we'd have to train it much more on day one. It was actually really, really smart on day one for our go live, which was phenomenal. 95% intent identification rate, and then 99% API execution rate. So all the interfaces going into Microsoft to ServiceNow and to SuccessFactors are definitely performing well. Pardon me. And then yes, as I mentioned, going from 12 minutes down to 1 to 2 minutes per transaction or HR inquiry, that was the biggest thing that we saw as a huge benefit, and our employees are definitely much more happier now. One feedback that I got actually from HR business partner was, we do a lot of internal transfers in AMD, crossing business units or crossing cost centers or changing managers. And managers are now going to them saying, hey, it's so much easier now with this HR AI agent. Thank you so much. So we're getting a lot of good feedback, not only quantitatively from the analytics, but just word of mouth. We're definitely hearing a lot of very positive things. This is a look about what our experience really looks like for the employees. So our first point of entry really is what we call ACE, AMD Concierge for Employees. It's the HR AI agents. ACE is a universal chatbot that connects to our HR AI agent, pardon me. So that's the first point of entry. Again, this tool, HR AI agent, does searching for FAQs, policy documents, knowledge-based articles, creating a case, managing a case, as well as doing all those self-service transactions in SuccessFactors. So biggest things really is we're finding that 50% of the questions are definitely being resolved through the HR AI agent. We have roughly, I think now, 4,500 employees actually using it very, very actively. And we had roughly, I think, 2,500 SharePoint files that are being searched actively. So we have over 2,000 documents that are being searched by the Search AI tool and spitting out questions, and answering those questions very quickly. So from idea to reality, so how do we implement the HR AI agent? So this kind of shows our implementation timeline. We started in the month of April of 2024. That was the discovery phase. Again, this was really where we worked with our vendor in Kore.ai to define requirements, blueprint the actual use cases. We shared, of course, all the use cases that we found as far as those common transactions that we wanted to enable into Kore.ai, like the high volume stuff such as time off, transfers, and updating employee information, et cetera. We then did a implementation from April through the middle of July or so as far as building it, testing it, and doing the actual unit testing. This was actually eye-opening. I mean, what we were kind of nervous about going into the project actually was what kind of preparation do we have to do? So do we have to tag documents a certain way? Is our Microsoft SharePoint set up in the most efficient manner so that the Search AI tool can pick it up? And pleasantly surprised after talking to Kore and talking to the implementation partner, there wasn't that much that we had to do. I mean, it was really just tagging documents as being global or country specific. We personally use SharePoint tags. We didn't have to change our content too much. It was just more tagging them in SharePoint. But the way that the SOPs or the policy documents or the Word documents were created, Kore was very easily able to ingest those. So that was great. We had roughly, as you can see here, about 2 to 3 weeks for our own core team testing, or our own core AMD team testing it, not core, but core team. And then finally about 2 to 3 weeks for UAT testing. We brought in those content owners in that phase. That was very, very important. So UAT testing wasn't like our core project team. It was the comp and ben team. It was the recruiting team. It was the payroll team, all coming in to make sure that the answer is coming from what we call, again, ACE, AMD Concierge for Employees, is answering questions properly. And finally, we went live, actually it was probably more like September 2nd timeframe. This was our pilot, which I'll definitely be covering shortly how we did the pilot. But this was where we brought in a smaller subgroup of people. It's now live in production. We now have HR looking at it, trying to break it, trying to find hallucinations, trying to find ways where it's not working well. But actuality, it was very, very positive. The chatbot was working as expected. We did some fine tuning a little bit on content just because of things being refreshed constantly. But I'll definitely be covering it shortly, but it actually went very, very well. And our UAT testers were very surprised that it pulled that content so quickly and accurately. And then when we went to hypercare, it was much more smoother. So this is kind of showing our approach for pilots. We went live, of course, in January 2025, as I mentioned, and I'll be covering each of these different columns. And then right now in 2025, we're working on a phased rollout. Now that we're live globally for all countries, all employees, what's next? So we're going to enable additional self-service transactions. We're going to do a thing called Approval Hub. Basically, that's leveraging Kore.ai. It's actually really neat because it's leveraging the Excel platform from Kore.ai, and it's bringing in approvals from other systems, so like Ariba, Concur, other tools and technologies. And now all those workflows from those different systems are going through that team's chat window, basically, or the chatbot. And so it's a one-stop shop for our managers to approve workflows across all the systems. And we're doing a phased rollout across all of our landscape for that. But to really get to our pilot, so what we did for the pilot was a 3-phase approach, started in September, went live again in January 2025. The first phase was really with a smaller group of HR. It was probably about 50 to 100 people at first for phase 1. It was making sure that, again, everything's working properly. We brought in our HR COEs, so our heads of the centers of expertise. We brought in IT, we brought in legal, and we made sure that all the answers that we're getting from ACE are correct and accurate. We were continuously training it day by day as we got feedback, thumbs up or thumbs down from the pilot, and we were fine-tuning it. And then finally, in about October-ish, we did a phase 2 of the pilot. That was bringing in more people from HR. So now we felt confident that, yes, ACE is working properly. We brought more people into that group. And then they were able to, again, do the self-service transactions. They were searching for questions for policies. And we were continuously training it as well. Finally, in phase 3, that was December and January timeframe, we brought in people outside of HR, IT, and finance. So we brought in people from engineering. We brought in people from other groups, non-managers, managers, individual contributors, vice presidents, all levels coming in now. And we had roughly about 550 people across all 3 phases of the pilot. Again, trying to just ask questions, giving us feedback. We did several brown bag sessions with the pilot users, asking them what's working well, what's not working well. Are you seeing that the content being surfaced is being paraphrased properly? Is it hallucinating at all? All in all, we brought in as many people as we could from different groups and different levels to get feedback. Finally, we went live in January of Jan 27th year, 2025. Again, now all 30,000 employees now have ACE. We did hypercare sessions every single day, just monitoring tickets coming in, making sure everything is going successfully. We have all countries on it. We didn't do a phased approach. It was big bang across the board. And then what we did is we also enabled additional features from the learnings that we found from the pilot. So the thumbs down that we got from the pilot in Q1, so January, February, March, we've been updating conversations, making it more user-friendly, and so forth. So now it's May, and now what are we working on? So we are now enabling additional self-service transactions. We're enabling employee engagement. which basically means that ACE can now proactively nudge and tap the shoulder of the employee or the manager to remind him or her of a certain activity. We're looking at Agent Assist. So as I mentioned, a lot of these, we were able to answer 50% of the questions coming in through ACE. But if you think about it, we get 65% of our Ask HR tickets coming in through email, which bypasses our HR AI agents. So now we're working on how do we leverage Agent Assist from Core to leverage our AI LLMs and all the training that we did for our chatbot, but now on the email channel. And that's gonna be huge for us, because if we can leverage that, and so hopefully we get 50% correct or even higher based on what we saw from ACE. But if we can do that on the email channel for 65% of, say, 70,000 tickets, that's a huge win for us. So that's what we're really pushing for right now. And also for our Ask HR Agents team members, being able to leverage a generative AI tool in ServiceNow through the widget, where they can then get responses to cases as they talk to our employees via live chat. So we're looking at that as well. And then finally, the last thing that we're all working on with our IT team, as I mentioned, is that approval hub. Again, leveraging a Kore.ai technology from the EXO platform that basically gets the workflows from different systems and pushes it to the employee or to the manager via our universal chatbot, which again goes through our HR AI agent as well. So very exciting things coming on. What else are we doing? So this is kind of, I'm not gonna read every single thing, but this just basically breaks out our roadmap for Q2, Q3, Q4. Q4 is when we're hoping to go live with the automated email responses, the live agent, et cetera. Q2, Q3 is more of those conversational updates and enhancements to those self-service transactions. It's really been a learning experience also, because through this implementation, this was our first GenAI HR kind of project. We were so used to doing or implementing ERPs or custom systems. So I think just what helped us be successful on day one, I'll be honest, was that being very thoughtful about our actual use cases, looking at truly what comes in, doing the homework first, I think was definitely key. As we were implementing the HR AI agent, our leadership team also wanted to make sure that we're using all this AI, all the HR data very responsibly and ethically. So doing the pilots with very small groups led us to this, I think, overall success. Because if we did not do the pilot and just turn it on day one, I mean, it would have worked well, but I think the employee experience of us getting a 70% thumbs up was us continuously training it during that pilot phase with our different users. And then just to kind of show you what it looks like, as I mentioned, this right here is just showing Search Assist or Search AI. So ACE, again, is our universal chatbot linking to HR AI agent. And on the prompt, it's just saying, how do I find a medical provider? And it's searching our 2,500 plus documents in SharePoints or knowledge base articles, and then finding the answer. We did, as I mentioned, get an 83% reduction in time savings. Again, that's that 12 minutes to 2 minutes number. And then the next slide, or next section shows, yep, we're getting 70% thumbs up. This is an example of HR Assist. So the chatbot going into success factors. The employee is now asking that he wants to take or she wants to take vacation. As you see, what we really got good feedback on, it's conversational. They're typing in February 21st. It's not like MMDDYYYY. It's not very systemized. It's very conversational with how people talk. Like, what is my leave balance? And it tells you, I want to take vacation effective February 23rd. So again, this was huge, and we are leveraging GenAI for HR Assist. And I think this is why we're getting such a really good thumbs up rating. Is it's just easy. I think that's the biggest thing to kind of share. So I'll be passing it now back to Swapna, but happy to take any questions afterwards, or if time permits during the session. But thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
And so continuing on this, so what Mark, you have seen this almost in every other session, but this is kind of the journey that we're on. Previously, we used to have these traditional rule-based chatbots. They were very rigid, very menu-driven, and very linear conversation. They had basic answering FAQs and following basic rules. Adaptability was very low, but very high maintenance. Anything changed, you had to change the entire flows, make sure everything was down right to the T. The next level of evolution is GenAI agents. When LLMs burst onto the scene with NLP and GenAI, you suddenly didn't need these traditional menu-based chatbots. The conversations became very human-like, and uh, it it is intelligent. It learns from broad data. It does need some prompt tuning and some model oversight, but that's the journey that Mark and team are on. The next level that is now really hot, where the industry is going, is talking about autonomous AI agents, where we're talking about not just LLMs, we're talking about APIs, tools, memory, and feedback loops, where given a goal, the agent can reason, it can determine what tasks are needed, and then go ahead and execute them. So these are seamless multi-step tasks, and then just very, very high adaptability, but also the risks are, that's where the risks people are thinking about, about governance and real-time feedback. How do I get a human in the loop with this, where it learns automatically? So that's the next level where this is going. So we're going to see an example of this in action, of where, what that looks like. So here we have Sophia. She's a recruiter, and she generally has to do these tasks. She has to manually write job descriptions. She has to email the job description to the manager for approval. Once that is approved, she has to post it on LinkedIn, then fill out offer letters, emails, templates, or actually interview people. She has to review all those applications and filter them out. She has to schedule all those interviews and then do all that interview prep manually. So now what happens is, in the future, this entire process flow, because she does this day in and day out, can be automated as an AI agent flow. And she can just create, this could be a AI agent flow for a recruiter, where you are generating the job description, you're getting the approval and posting it on LinkedIn, you're screening the candidates and the applicants, scheduling the interviews, and then again reviewing the summary feedback after the interviews. So we're going to see a quick demo of that in action. This is just as an example of how the entire thing is orchestrated. You will have these different agents, individual agents, where the tasks are broken down. You have the JD generator, you have the candidate screener, and you have the feedback manager. And then it's using these tools in that entire process for mail manager, for fetching the candidates, for filtering the candidates, and for the feedback manager for sending reminders and to fetch feedback. So here's a quick demo of what that looks like. Oh, didn't play? Didn't play? So this, she's putting in the skills for the job description that got generated, and she's filtering the candidates that she got from from New York, and a specific skill set. So this was a very small flow, but you could actually automate that entire flow using the agent platform that we had. So with that, you're seeing where the future is going. Like, you could automate these entire process flows within HR. Just there were some examples that Mark gave, but this is like an almost an entire process that can be automated using agentic AI. And so in these examples, what you saw is we had a human in the loop at every step of the way. So, that's what we need to think about is when we are using AI, how do we use a human in the loop when we are designing agentic flows? How do we make sure that, people are not yet fully comfortable with giving agents full autonomy? So that's where you will see that a lot of these flows right now have a human in the loop so that they're giving feedback. Um, and so really we have tried to really simplify it so that you could integrate with any of your enterprise systems for faster, smoother employee support. You can simplify those HR tasks and you have one AI assistant to trigger everything. There's no app switching needed at all. And so I'll leave you this final thought. It's really where we want to go is we want to have humans and AI agents working together. Of course, it has to be human first, but it needs to be AI enabled. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you. We can open it up for questions.